Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this is Apple's Magic Keyboard. I've been using it every single day with the 2020 iPad Pro, and it's just something that I absolutely love from Apple. Now, the price is way too expensive at $349, but the way it works and the way it feels and the build quality kind of make it close to worth it for me, although it is still the most expensive keyboard or case I've ever purchased. Now, it holds onto the iPad magnetically, and this is sort of a work of art internally, and iFixit did some x-ray scans, and take a look at these because this is incredible how many components are actually inside this. Now, it's held on magnetically, as you could see in that x-ray scan. You can also see it here with magnet paper, and I've shown it in the unboxing video as well, and it just holds the iPad on, and it's not going to fall off. In fact, if I just shake the iPad, you'll see it's not going to fall off at all. It's held on very tightly, and of course you don't normally walk around with it held up like that. Now, it is adjustable. I would like for it to go back a little bit further, but it's nice and adjustable, and it's really at the perfect angle for my height. You could adjust it down if you're a little bit shorter, but I'm fairly tall, around 6 feet, and my torso is very tall, so this angle is pretty perfect depending on how you're seated, of course. Now, as far as the build quality, this is phenomenal as far as the way it sounds. Every time I close this, it's something I notice. So let me see if you can hear this. It's just a nice solid thunk every time you swing that magnet shut. It sort of grabs on when you do this. It grabs the bottom of the case down here, and then when you push it open, it's at a perfect angle, and it looks like it's floating in front of you, even though it's just held onto a case. Now, I do have a couple complaints about it, so as much as I like it, there are a couple things I don't like. Let's go ahead and unlock it here. And using the iPad like normal, like this, is great. Now, previous to this, before I talk about the keyboard and things, previous to this, I was using the other keyboard, the Smart Keyboard. And while it was pretty good, this keyboard is like using a real laptop keyboard from the latest MacBook Pros. So this one's really mushy. It feels much more like the previous generation MacBooks. It works fine. I never had any problems with it on the previous generation iPad Pro or even this one, but the nice thing it has is you can flip it around. That's the one thing you don't get with this Magic Keyboard. But what you do get is this amazing keyboard. It's a backlit keyboard, and if I go into something like Notes, you can type on it without any issue, saying, "Hi, this is Aaron from Zollotech." And you'll see I don't type normally, and I've said this many times before in other videos, but it works really well. You can use the trackpad to highlight text without a problem, and it just works phenomenally well. However, I find that I don't use the trackpad too often. I usually find that I'm using the keyboard and then reaching up to use the actual iPad itself. But you can swipe through different things with the trackpad, and it just depends if I'm seated at a table or if I'm sitting on, say, a couch or in a chair or something like that. The nice thing is it won't tip over if it's on your lap unless you have it at an extreme angle too. So, for example, if I bring in these PowerBeats Pro cases here, this is pretty thick. If I sit this under the keyboard, you'll see it won't tip over. Now, if you get much further than that, maybe it'll tip over, but still, it wants to come back down right on towards you. So it doesn't seem to tip over, so it does have that lapability that people want if you're sitting and you don't have any table or anything like that. Now, it's fairly thin, it's fairly heavy though, and when it's closed, it's nice and secure. It protects the iPad, and it gives you an extra port, not only to charge, but also you can use the port on the bottom to maybe use a USB-C drive or something like that. So you can't use the port to charge it and for USB. This is only for charging. You want to use the USB-C port on the bottom for file transfer. And so it is a little bit thicker, but I don't really mind that thickness and weight because it's just something that I really enjoy using. It looks great, and when I want to go, I just take it off the iPad stand or the Magic Keyboard here, and I'm good to go. I come back, snap it into place, and I can use it just fine. And so it's something that I use along with my iPhone every single day, and I use it for watching YouTube videos, sometimes using Pixelmator Photo with the pencil, and it's just an incredibly nice keyboard to use as far as typing. But I have two complaints about this. One I've sort of already mentioned is that you can't tilt it back around. So if you want to use it in bed, you have to sort of lay it on maybe your chest and tilt it down like this to actually watch the screen. Now, the other thing you could do, of course, is detach the iPad Pro, but before with the other one, you could have it at a different angle and it wasn't as bad. The other thing, other than the price that I mentioned earlier, is there's no keys at the top to adjust things like brightness. So you have to go into the control center, adjust brightness here, and while that's not a huge issue, it was nicer on the Logitech keyboards and things to have those buttons up here. So a couple buttons for volume or brightness instead of going into the control center and then going to volume. You do have a ton of keyboard shortcuts and you get to those by holding down Command. So maybe you're in Notes and I hold Command. It will show me all of the shortcuts here. So you do have those as an option, but it's just not as nice as having those buttons on the top like you do on a MacBook. That's the one thing this keyboard's missing and that Logitech keyboards got right. The key travel and everything else is just great, and the build quality is phenomenal, and it ought to be for the price. So I highly recommend this, but this is really for someone that's replacing their laptop with an iPad, I think, most of the time. You could use this 100% of the time. You can edit videos with things like LumaFusion. You can create videos with it, whatever you want to do, and it's just super fast all the time. And so I'm looking forward to something such as Logic Pro or Final Cut Pro for me, and then Xcode. Then this could be 100% my laptop all the time. And without Final Cut Pro, there is LumaFusion, but there's a couple things I would like to see changed as well with the file system. But overall, I love this keyboard. I'll continue using it, and I'm glad I bought it, but if you already have the Smart Keyboard and you really like it, it's really hard to justify $350 or so for this one on the 12.9-inch iPad Pro. But let me know what you think about the Smart Keyboard in the comments below. I really like it. The build quality is phenomenal. Oh, and one more thing, it does eat a little bit more battery than normal. Not a ton, more so when the backlight is on. So it will use more battery if I go into my settings. So you can see this is my usage over the few days that I've been using it. I don't plug it in every day, but you get the idea. I get about 8 to 10 hours out of it, no problem, and it seems to work fine. But just keep in mind that it will use a little bit extra battery, but you can plug it in like a laptop and just leave it on your desk. But let me know if you have any other questions about it. I'd love to answer those in the comments below. And if you have anything else you'd like to see specifically about this, such as maybe key travel a little bit more, let me know in the comments below as well. If you'd like to get your hands on this wallpaper, of course, I'll link it in the description as I always do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.